You know that feeling? When your emotions just feel like they're totally in charge, maybe dragging you down or bouncing you off the
Oh,
wall.
absolutely.
Ever wish you just had a clearer map, maybe? A way to understand what's going on inside and, I don't know, steer things a little more?
That really resonates. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not about like getting rid of those big feelings, is it? They all serve a purpose.
Right.
It's more about understanding the energy underneath them and how we can maybe navigate them a bit better.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what we're diving into today. This idea called the emotional scale for alignment. Now, forget thinking it's like some rigid list or something. It's more like a spectrum, of emotional energy.
Okay.
And it's categorized in this really, I think, insightful way: expansive, neutral, and contractive.
All right, those three zones.
Yeah, it's about recognizing the quality of the feeling, the energy of it, not sticking a good or bad label on it.
Precisely. And what the source material really stresses is that this framework, it isn't aiming for some, impossible state of constant happiness or anything.
Right, that's not realistic.
Yeah. No, it's more like a practical tool, a lens, to see where you are emotionally. And then it offers these really concrete steps for what they call gentle emotional calibrating.
Gentle emotional calibrating. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's about making shifts in how you feel, but in a way that's sustainable,
Yeah.
realistic.
And within those big categories, expansive, neutral, contractive, there's a whole range of actual emotions.
Oh yeah, the whole tapestry.
So, like, expansive isn't just peak joy, it's also passion, enthusiasm, just general happiness, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And neutral gives you that grounding, maybe. Hopefulness, being open-minded, adaptable.
Okay.
And in the contracted states, well, that's where you find doubt, disappointment, frustration, all those tougher ones.
It covers a lot of ground.
It really does.
Yeah.
And what's cool is how the scale focuses on the felt sense of these emotions.
What do you mean by felt sense?
Like, think about disappointment.
Yeah.
That feeling of maybe heaviness or constriction inside.
Yeah.
Compare that to joy, which often feels, lighter,
Yeah.
more open.
Definitely.
It's tapping into that internal sense. Tension versus ease, resistance versus flow, that kind of thing.
Right, and the materials we looked at, they have this interactive, quick start emotional scale.
Yeah, that's helpful.
It lays out those three categories and gives real examples for each one. And it sort of nudges you to just, take a second. Where are you right now on that spectrum?
And it's so important to remember, like the source says, moving up and down this scale. Totally normal. It's just part of being human.
Life happens.
Life happens.
Yeah.
Events will shift us around. The real point of this deep dive, I think, is figuring out how we can navigate those shifts more mindfully, not just get swept along.
Okay, so I've got this way of understanding the energy. How do we actually use it to feel better? That's this gentle emotional calibrating idea.
That's the core of it, yeah.
Yeah.
The main idea is incremental progress, small steps. The source uses a great analogy, climbing a ladder.
Right.
You wouldn't expect to leap from the bottom rung way up to the top in one go, would you?
Probably not. You'd likely fall off.
Exactly. You climb one rung at a time. And it's similar with emotions. Making these small, deliberate shifts, just moving maybe one position up the scale, that tends to stick better. It's more effective than trying some massive emotional jump.
And the material really points out that no single rung is better than another one, right?
That's such a key point. Yes.
All these feelings, even the tough ones, they have a purpose. They can actually help us climb towards feeling better. So feeling frustrated isn't just a roadblock.
Precisely. Trying to force a huge leap, like going from despair straight to joy, that often creates internal friction, resistance. The source calls it dissonance.
Okay.
Think about that staircase analogy again. Trying to skip too many steps, you're more likely to stumble.
Makes sense.
Gradual shifts kind of work with where you are already. Makes the whole process feel smoother, less of a struggle.
Okay, let's get practical then. How do we actually do this gentle calibration? The source gives us this quick start emotional calibration process. 5 steps.
So 5 steps.
Yeah.
Ready?
Let's walk through them.
Yeah.
Step 1, pause and name emotion.
Right. This is just about taking a beat, creating a little space to check in and honestly see what you're feeling. No judgment, right?
No self-criticism.
Exactly. And using that emotional scale can help pinpoint it. Like, okay, I'm feeling disappointment. Just naming it.
Yeah.
It's that moment of objective recognition.
Okay. Step 2, briefly acknowledge the cause. briefly being the key word here.
Definitely brief.
Yeah.
This isn't about diving deep into the whole story or rehashing everything.
Right.
It's just a simple acknowledgement of the trigger. Grounds you a bit. The example they give is good. I'm frustrated because the project didn't go as planned.
Okay. Short and sweet.
Yeah. It just puts the feeling in context without letting you get totally wrapped up in the drama around it.
Yeah.
Recognizing the spark, but not, fanning the flames.
Got it. Step 3 feels really important. Accept where you are.
Oh, it's huge. The source really emphasizes this. Feeling unpleasant stuff doesn't mean you failed or anything.
Right. It just means something matters to you.
Exactly. And actually making peace with where you are right now, even if it's uncomfortable, that reduces the internal fight. It lowers the resistance.
Like that example phrase, I am where I am, and it's okay.
Simple, but powerful, right?
Yeah.
That acceptance is key to loosening the emotion's grip. Fighting how you feel often just makes it stronger, lasts longer. Acceptance creates space for things to shift.
Okay, makes sense. Then step 4, take small steps toward relief. This is the gentle calibration in action.
This is where it happens, yeah. You're not aiming for a total 180-degree emotional flip.
Not trying to force joy if you're feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly. You're just aiming for a slight improvement, maybe one step up the scale. The example was, I don't need to fix things right now. I can just find some relief.
I like that. It feels achievable.
Doesn't it? There's no pressure in that. It's not about fake positivity. It's just reaching for a feeling that's slightly less intense, maybe marginally more comfortable, that makes this shift feel believable, sustainable.
And the final step, step 5, celebrate and flow.
Right. Emotions are meant to move, yeah.
Yeah.
They flow, we feel them, they give us information, and then ideally they move on.
We shouldn't cling to them or try to squash them down.
Neither really. It's about allowing that natural flow and, importantly, acknowledging even the smallest positive shift. That little bit of relief you aimed for, notice it, appreciate it. That builds momentum.
So celebrating the small win reinforces the progress.
Exactly. It kind of trains your brain to recognize and value those slightly better states. It encourages more movement in that direction.
Okay, that 5-step process sounds really practical. Now, what about when things are going the other way? That negative spiral we all sometimes fall into?
The downward momentum. Yes, the source talks about managing that too.
What are some strategies?
Well, the big one is catch it early and calibrate.
Like noticing the first signs?
Exactly, like stopping a wave before it gets huge. If you start to feel that little jolt of tension, where you get irritable or negative thoughts start racing, that's the time to pause.
And do the calibration process? Or something simpler?
Either. Use the quick calibration process, or even just take a few deep, centering breaths. Anything to interrupt it early.
What else?
Another tip is to slow down and stabilize. When you feel that downward pull starting, it's probably not the best time for big decisions or deep analysis.
Don't try to figure it all out right then.
Probably not. The focus should just be on finding your feet again, regaining sort of emotional balance, equilibrium.
Okay.
And here's an interesting one. Do one thing differently.
How does that help?
Sometimes just a small physical change, like changing your posture, walking into another room, deliberately breaking a small habit, can signal to your brain that you're taking back control. It can help disrupt the negative pattern.
Huh. Like shifting your physical state can shift your mental state.
A little bit, yeah. And finally, sometimes you need to accept and soften.
If the spiral is already going strong.
Yeah. If the emotions got real momentum, fighting it head on can sometimes just make it worse.
So instead,
try to relax into it a bit. Gently remind yourself, okay, this feels bad, but it's okay. It will pass. Allowing it to be there without fighting it can actually lessen its intensity over time.
that takes practice, I imagine.
Definitely. And the source also mentions, interestingly, that sometimes people can get sort of habituated to negative spirals or even find a weird comfort in the familiar discomfort.
Wow. Recognizing that pattern would be the first step then.
Huge first step, yeah.
This all really underlines how important it is to just be more aware of what's going on inside, doesn't it? Which leads to this idea of tracking emotional indicators.
Yes, actively paying attention. Why is that so helpful?
Well, the benefits seem pretty clear. First off, it boosts your improved self-awareness.
Makes sense.
By consciously watching your emotional states, you start seeing the patterns, right? The triggers. What situations or thoughts tend to shift you up or down that scale?
You learn your own landscape better.
Exactly. And that leads to a greater sense of control. When you understand why you're feeling a certain way, you feel more empowered to manage it, especially when things get tough. Plus, Tracking can help with early prediction of emotional irregularities. You start noticing the subtle signs before a big dip happens.
Giving you a chance to intervene.
Right, to recalibrate before it escalates. And fundamentally, it just enhances emotional regulation.
How so?
Just the process of observing yourself over time teaches you so much about your own responses. You get better at navigating the ups and downs with more skill, more confidence.
It really supports personal growth too, doesn't it? By showing you where you might need new coping strategies.
Yeah, and it can inform better lifestyle choices, seeing the link between, say, sleep and your mood.
Or diet or exercise.
It can even lead to improved communication, maybe with a partner or therapist, because you have a clearer idea of your internal state.
And ultimately, the source suggests it can contribute to increased optimism and hope.
It really sounds like tuning in and tracking this stuff is a powerful tool. What about applying it under pressure, though, when things are really intense?
Yeah, good question. The source suggests creating your own personal emotional alignment toolkit.
What would be in that?
Things that work for you. Maybe some go-to calming phrases like that, I am where I am and it's okay. Or even just having the emotional scale handy, maybe on your phone, to glance at.
A quick reference.
Exactly. And I like this idea they mentioned too, a quick calibrating game called Would I Rather.
Oh,
Like that.
this is like a simple, lighthearted way to just shift your focus for a moment. Find a tiny bit of relief even when things are stressful. Like, would I rather focus on this frustrating email or think about that nice walk I took earlier? Just finding a slightly better feeling thought. Ah, okay. It brings home the point that calibration doesn't have to be super serious all the time.
Exactly. Sometimes a bit of lightness is actually really effective for breaking that negative momentum.
Now, some people might know other emotional scales, like maybe the Abraham Hicks one. How does this emotional scale for alignment compare? What makes it different?
Well, the source material suggests this one is maybe more granular, more structured.
Okay.
It seems to build on some of those earlier ideas, for
Yeah.
sure, but it offers a more detailed breakdown of specific feelings within those three zones: expansive, neutral, contractive.
And a big difference seems to be that really explicit, non-judgmental stance.
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
All emotions are treated as valuable information, guidance systems almost.
Whether it's joy or resentment, there's something to learn from it. It's not just good or bad.
Right. And they also make a distinction between emotional alignment and emotional mastery. Did you catch that?
Yeah, what's the difference there? They sound similar.
They do overlap. But alignment, in this context, seems to be more about the conscious choice, choosing your direction on the scale and taking those gentle steps.
Okay, setting the course.
Right. Whereas mastery might imply a broader, more sustained skill in navigating the whole emotional landscape effectively. Alignment feels like the first crucial part of achieving mastery, maybe.
So how do they define emotional mastery then? What does that look like?
It centers on being able to, first, recognize your emotions as they happen, then regulate them, effectively manage their intensity, their duration, and finally respond to them in a way that actually serves you and your goals.
So it's not about not feeling things.
Definitely not suppression. It's about awareness and intentional engagement.
Okay. And the source listed some key aspects, right? Like noticing feelings without that knee-jerk react.
Exactly. Observing without automatically acting out. Understanding where they come from without getting stuck analyzing forever. Being able to find your balance, your stability, even when things outside are chaotic.
And enjoying the process, finding satisfaction in managing your inner world.
Yes. And using emotions as those calibration points we talked about.
Yeah.
Importantly, though, it clarifies mastery isn't perfection.
Not about being happy all the time.
Not at all. It's about sustainable self-leadership, building resilience, trusting yourself to handle whatever feelings come up by working with them, not fighting them.
So how does using the emotional scale actually help someone develop that mastery? What's the link?
Well, first, it brings clarity. So many people struggle just to name what they're feeling accurately. The scale gives you a language, a framework.
Helps you pinpoint where you are and where you want to go.
Right. And that self-awareness is the foundation. It also helps normalize the whole range of emotions.
Reduces the shame or self-criticism around feeling bad.
Exactly. Understanding that all feelings are part of the human experience makes you more accepting of your own inner world. And it provides that practical feedback loop through calibration.
Trying things out, seeing what works to shift your state.
Yeah. You learn your effective strategies for regulation. Plus, it reinforces those sustainable small steps.
Building self-trust over time rather than aiming for impossible leaps.
Right. And as you use it more, it tends to reduce that emotional reactivity. You get better at catching things early, creating that pause between trigger and response. That pause is mastery in action, really.
It builds emotional agility, too, right? Being able to adapt when life throws curveballs.
Definitely. And like you said earlier, it makes something abstract emotions feel more tangible, more concrete, something you can actually track and work with.
Okay, and lastly, the source talks about the complete emotional alignment system. What's the bigger picture there?
It sounds like an expansion of the core ideas, a straightforward system aimed at quick emotional relief, but without needing, intense therapy or forcing yourself to be positive when you're not.
So, more detailed versions of the scale and the calibration process.
That seems to be the gist. And it lists a whole range of benefits, identifying triggers more clearly, finding stability, understanding the messages in your feelings.
Even understanding others' emotions better.
Apparently so. Plus, tracking your patterns, navigating life more easily, lifting your overall state, supporting personal growth.
And the emphasis is on keeping it practical, avoiding complicated theories.
Yeah, keeping it usable in everyday life. No overthinking required seems to be the message.
So, bottom line, how does this complete system help people actually feel better day to day?
It helps you pinpoint how you're feeling right now and then guides you step by step towards feeling better. But crucially, without making you fake positivity or get lost analyzing problems.
It helps you see the value in all your emotions.
Exactly. And gives you the tools, hopefully, to navigate those natural ups and downs with more confidence, more resilience, lasting confidence.
It sounds like it fosters a more cooperative relationship with your emotions, understanding their signals, guiding yourself gently.
That's a great way to put it. Collaboration, not conflict.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, let's quickly recap. We've looked at the emotional scale for alignment as this really useful tool for understanding emotional energy.
Yeah, those expansive, neutral, contractive qualities.
We got into the nuts and bolts of gentle emotional calibration, those small, sustainable steps being way more effective than big leaps.
One rung at a time.
And we talked about why tracking your emotional indicators is so beneficial. Building that self-awareness, getting more control.
Cultivating that inner understanding.
This whole framework really does seem to offer a practical way towards feeling, well, steadier, more satisfied emotionally.
It's about empowering you, the listener, with that awareness, that acceptance, and the ability to navigate your own feelings with more skill, more understanding.
So here's something to maybe mull over as you go about your day. Which rung on that emotional scale do you find yourself on most often? Just notice.
No judgment, just curiosity.
Right. And then maybe think, what would just one small, gentle step upwards from there feel like for you? It's kind of an invitation, isn't it? To keep exploring your own amazing, dynamic, emotional world.
With maybe a new map and a new sense of direction.